Hey folks, this is Aleki, and you are watching Stationeers for Beginners. In this video, we will talk about power, specifically electrical power. Many devices and Stationeers use electrical power. Tools like the hand drill require power from a battery. Bigger machines like the autolathe that we built in the construction episode will need to be connected to a power network via cable. Like in real life, power networks in Stationeers require generators, cables, storage, and consumers. So let's take a look at generators. In your starter kit, you will have a solid generator. This one allows you to turn fuel into electricity. You can place this generator on a frame, and it is built in a single step without requiring any additional items. On the front of it, there is an item input port where you will need to supply coal, as well as a data port, which can be used for monitoring and automation. On the right side is its on-off switch. So long as the generator is off, even if coal is provided, it will not be consumed and no electricity will be generated. On the back, there is the power output port of the generator, where, so long as the coal lasts, the generator will provide 20 kilowatts of power. To take advantage of it, you need to connect it to a cable network. Cables are built using the cable coil. The cable coil has 8 types, corresponding to 8 different shapes. You have straight cables, curved cables, and a variety of junctions. In this case, let's use a curved cable to connect it to the pre-existing wires that I placed. Rather than using a junction, you can use a combination of wires, but to do so, you must have the wire cutters in your other hand. You're holding the wire cutters, you can now add to an existing cable to automatically form a junction. The other generator provided to you in the beginning of the game is a basic solar panel. Solar panels have more advanced types as well that you will be able to craft yourself later, but the basic solar panel allows you to take advantage of solar energy to generate some early power. It has 2 types. The flat version, which is ideal for planets where the sun reaches high into the sky, and the angled version, which is preset to 45 degrees and cannot be adjusted. This version is more useful for planets where the sun only rises a small amount of degrees into the sky. For Mars, especially at the beginning of the game, the flat panel version is ideal. Keep in mind that the height that the sun reaches will vary with the season in your game. In order to fully build this basic solar panel, I have to also add a glass sheet. And, like the other generator, I have to connect its power output port to a cable network. We now have 2 generators ready to supply power to our area power controller. The area power controller serves to separate cable networks, as well as providing a switch and a battery slot. The battery slot can be used both to charge a battery, if there is a surplus of electricity from the generators, and to provide a backup to the consumers if the generators are not providing enough power. For example, the solar panel will only produce electricity while sunlight is hitting it. During the nighttime, unless I'm running the coal generator, this battery will provide my consumers with power. Keep in mind that the batteries that can be added to these slots do not have a very large capacity, and as soon as possible you will want to explore larger battery types that store a lot more power. When the area power controller is turned off, it will still receive power from upstream generators and charge the battery. However, no power will be sent to consumers on its output port. If you toggle it on, then the consumers are able to drain power either from the battery or power that passes through from the generators if enough is provided. Let's take a look at a few of the other items that you start with that can be connected to an electrical network. The small battery charger allows you to charge up to 2 batteries at the same time using network power. It can be mounted on a frame or on a wall, and it has its own power switch so you can turn it on or off. It also needs to be connected with the cables and has an electrical port on the bottom side. Let's add the cables and connect it into our existing network. Now, if I was to place an empty battery in the charger and turn it on, you'll see that it is slowly charging. The light on the battery indicates its charge status. Red indicates that it is discharged, blinking red indicates that it is a low charge, orange, yellow, green indicates progressive levels of charge, and blue indicates that the battery is fully charged. If you place your pointer with nothing in your hand on top of a battery, you'll be able to see its charge level in exact percent in your tooltip. As you can see, the small battery is pretty quickly charging from our network. Keep in mind that if you connect these the way I did, where the charger is on the output side of the power controller, the batteries you are charging on the charger will actually drain from your area power controller battery if not enough power is coming from the upstream generators. My suit just generated a warning that my suit battery is low. I can take this, swap it with the battery that is on the charger. The battery I was using in my suit will slowly charge. Since this is a large battery, it will take a longer time and more electricity to charge it. Likewise, my suit will fairly quickly consume the small battery that I replaced in it. Another item you start with is the active vent. It too can be mounted on frames or on walls. The purpose of the active vent is to pump gases from the atmosphere into a pipe or from a pipe out into the atmosphere. The exact details of how this works is something that we're going to cover in our gases tutorial. However, on the bottom of this, it also has a power cable, and it needs to be powered to function. So let's connect it to our cable network. Like many electrical devices, the active vent has buttons to control it. In particular, it has an on-off button that you will see on many electrical devices. In this case, the orange blinking of the power button indicates that there is an error with this device. For the active vent, a connected gas pipe is required for it to function. So while we powered it, it is not yet functional because it is not connected to a gas network. Other items that you start with that may need to be connected to a cable network may not require power per se, but do use the same type of cable network to transmit their data. For example, you have a sensor kit, and this allows you to place a variety of sensors. A gas sensor will be useful in building your first airlock, which is something that we'll tackle in a future episode. If we look on the back of the wall, it has a connection point as well, and though it does not need power, you would want to connect it with cables in similar fashion to allow the sensor data to be transmitted to other devices that may need it. The arc furnace is another machine that is in your starter kit. It consumes electricity to refine ore. How to use it we will tackle in the episode on mining and acquiring resources. As you can see, the small battery did not last very long in my suit and I'm already getting a new warning. But in the meantime, the one I put on the charger is almost fully charged. In order to know what the status of consumption and generation of power on a network is, you can use your handheld tablet. The tablet is a multifunction scanner, and which function it provides you depends on the cartridge you load into its cartridge slot. A network analyzer cartridge is one of the cartridges that you start the game with. Socket it into the cartridge slot, grab the handheld tablet into your hand, right-click to turn it on, and point it to a cable. It will display a summary of the devices on that network, as well as the current and potential consumption on this network. As you can see, right now this network has a consumption of 5 watts, but were everything on the network to be turned on, the potential consumption would be about 162 watts. The bottom part of the tablet, you can see a list of all the devices on this network, along with their specific power needs. Right now, it shows us that we have an auto lathe, which is turned off, and therefore has no power need. An area power controller, which could absorb up to 1.1 kilowatts, though this is misleading because this is the output side of the power controller, and it could not charge from this side of the network. Let's turn on a few of these devices. The auto lathe, like other devices, is turned on by clicking its on-off switch. The same for the arc furnace. Even though these machines are not refining or building anything, they do start to consume a nominal amount of power. If we analyze the network again, the auto lathe now is consuming 100 watts simply for sitting turned on and idle. The arc furnace as well is consuming 5 watts, even though it is not refining anything. Let's put some ore into the arc furnace and see how the consumption changes. I put a bunch of gold and activate the arc furnace and look at the network. Now, the arc furnace is going to be consuming about 2 kilowatts. Though that consumption only pulses for a brief moment as it goes through the gold. The amount of power that is generated is limited by consumers as well as the maximum capacity of the generator. If you only have a few consumers, even a generator that produces more than 5 kilowatts that your regular wires can carry will not overload the wires. However, batteries have the ability to release or absorb any amount of power. So when working with battery devices, like this area power controller, it's very important to make sure that you do not connect the input and output sides. If we look inside the power controller, I have a battery that has some charge, and the power controller is turned on. So let's see what happens if I connect the output and the input together. In just a moment, the cable, somewhere on this loop, will burn out, disconnecting. Once a cable is burnt out, it is junk and you will have to replace it. This can happen whether you're looping a battery device like I did here, or if you build a network on which the consumers and the generators can reach more than 5 kilowatts. If you need to supply more than 5 kilowatts on the network, you will be able to build the heavy power cables. They have the same shapes available as the regular power cables and can be built on the electronics printer. While slightly cosmetically different for the junctions, they do have essentially the same connections available. In addition to the network-connected devices, you also start the game with a few portable tools and devices that rely on battery power. Your hand tool, such as the hand drill for example, need battery in order to function. A few of the other items you will need to unpack before they are usable. You can do this by holding right-click with the item in your hand. For example, I just unpacked the portable air conditioner. On the front of it, you can see that it has a battery slot. The portable air conditioner does not come with an included battery, but you do start with a few extra batteries in your starter kit, so having one to add into it should not be a problem. Another example is the portable air scrubber, which also needs a battery added. The ground penetrating radar and the tracking beacon both come with an included battery. As you notice, these three have a normal power button. For the tracking beacon, you turn it on and off by clicking the middle of its body. If you have not had the chance to set up a battery charger connected to a power network like we did a little bit earlier, you get a portable generator as well. If you unpack this, it has a battery slot. However, that battery slot does not consume the battery, but rather charge it. So let's grab my partially consumed suit battery, put it in here. This generator requires fuel. This is the same type of fuel mix that you use in your welding torch. So you can grab the canister from your starter welding torch, put it in the slot on the left side, and as you can see, the tank pressure indicates that it now has plenty of fuel. If I turn the generator on, the battery will slowly charge. If you choose to use the portable generator to charge your batteries, be mindful of the amount of fuel that you burn in this fashion. At the beginning of the game, you do not yet have the ability to replenish your welding fuel, and losing the ability to weld because you ran out of fuel can lock you out of making any progress in the game. As with all topics in Stationeers, there is far more depth to electricity than I can cover in this first video. I hope what I covered here can help you get started and understand the basics of power generation and consumption. If you found this useful, please give the video a like and comment with any topics or questions that you would like me to cover in future videos. As well, if you want to know when the next one comes out, please subscribe and press the bell icon. For now, Aleki signing off.